I've been asking some questions of the politicians in this country about their approach to the Gaza-Israel war. There's a lot of people making statements and they don't mean anything, or they don't appear to mean anything. There's no precision. It's sound bites. So I've been trying to get some answers. So here's Stephen Bonnar. And he said, Coatbridge was one of the first towns in Scotland to open our hearts and homes to the Ukrainian refugees, and we will do the same for the Palestinians. So this is the next thing. Okay. Free Palestine. Okay, so I said, what does free Palestine mean? Can you give me a definition? Right? Because I mean, I don't even particularly live in free Scotland, but no answer. So I did a little better with Chris Williamson, Firebrand far-left Labour MP. So he was complaining. He said, the Zionists have been calling on the police to arrest me because of my criticisms of Israel. I'll show you why they were asking for his arrest. And my support of Palestine. Cast your mind back 40 years. Can you imagine supporters of apartheid South Africa being taken seriously, let alone being invited to the police to complain? So here we've got Derbyshire police replying to someone asking for a private message to report the alleged offence. So I responded to Chris and said, you must regret the tweet, surely. Now, I'll go to what I said in a minute. The tweet was Chris Williamson put out the alleged Israeli bombing of the hospital in Gaza, which we now know to be false, although the BBC weren't too interested in accuracy when they put it out. Neither was Sky News. So he saw this, it aligned with his worldview, so he said, Israel has forfeited any right to exist. That's what someone considered to be a hate crime or something, and reported them to the police. So I responded to him. I said, you must regret the tweet, surely. Communist China killed 100 million, Communist Russia 60 million, Nazi Germany, Cambodia, Rwanda, all of these countries. No one said that they've forfeited every right to exist. But in this case only, you think this is the case. So he came back and he said, Israel was created in 1948 on land stolen from the Palestinians. It then stole more land in 1967 and continues to steal land and property to this day. It's the nature of the settler colonial entity. Okay, so you see the language here. It's not a country; it's an entity, right? Because it's removing any legitimacy. It's left wing language to essentially it's witchcraft. It's to create the reality they want to see. But notice that he didn't try to defend his position. He didn't try to claim that a strike by an Islamic terror group hitting a hospital by accident removed Israel's right to exist. No. He abandoned that. Now it never had any right to exist. He cited 1948. And he didn't cite 1947, interestingly enough, or any of the 28 years before 1948 when this situation was going on. All of that's down the memory hole. So I responded, you consider that it never had any right to exist, that the UN granting that right was wrong, and it should be eliminated by any means necessary. This means you lied when you claimed that the actions, the Islamic Jihad actions 2 days ago had forfeited the right to exist. And of course, at that point, he said nothing. I tried again, Claudia Webb MP, Labour MP. She said, I condemn Israel's war crimes on Gaza. We demand a ceasefire. Absolutely, we certainly do. Release of hostages, yes. A free Palestine and binding peace. So I asked a question. You demand binding peace. How does this work when there's no desire for peace on the part of the extremists? Who will bind them? And what does a free Palestine mean exactly? No response, none. I tried again with a chat with friend of the UK column and left-wing commentator Simon Elmer. Got a little bit further. I've said I've been having this problem. I've been trying to get an answer to what's a free Palestine, and none of these politicians will respond. He said it might begin with opening the borders to the Gaza Strip, freeing the prisoners in Israel's jail, removing the settled towns in the West Bank, rebuilding the Bedouin villages in the Negev, returning Palestine to the Palestinians and compensating them for 75 years of occupation. So I said, well, immediately there are problems here. On the 7th of October, the borders to Gaza were open. it did not go well for humanity on that day. What makes you think it will be different this time? Secondly, returning Palestine to the Palestinians. Who do you mean, and what land do you mean? All right, so he responded, if you include Palestinians and humanity, which I do, amen to that, it hasn't been going well since 1948. Actually, come to that in a minute. But if you mean Palestine was created by a mandate of the British and its borders are no more real than those claimed by the religious books of the Bronze Age Levantine tribe, I agree. So this is not a solution. So I said, but it's not 1948, it's 1920. Why miss 28 years of the story? And none of this is addressing the issue. So I didn't even get very far with Simon, and he's by far the best of the left-wing commentators in so many areas. He said, if you're arguing that after 75 years of occupation, the idea of Israelis and Palestinians living together as they once did is a pipe dream, I agree, and that 2 states, not 1 state in a concentration camp is the solution, but that won't solve the problem of US imperialism. So the problem's moved again. It's now US imperialism. And I said, why then did the proposition fail on Arab refusal to countenance the idea in 1937 and again in 1947? And of course, it's not 75 years of anything, it's 103. Why do you miss an entire generation of the story? Because that shows the narrative is false. So that was my attempt to get some clarity on what is actually being proposed by Free Palestine. I didn't get anywhere, but I'm going to keep asking the question because it's a question that needs to be asked, needs to be answered, and the people who are saying the words need to be specific. Because if, as in the demonstrator that I showed you earlier, they mean the complete and total destruction of Israel and wiping it from the map permanently and giving the people within it no choice but military defeat and who knows what else, expulsion at best, death presumably being one of the options. If that's what the position actually is, I think the people advocating it should at least be honest about it. Now, I've got a couple of little things to throw in before we finish that show different aspects of this. Have we got time?
Yeah, just about, David. Maybe do one
right,
of them.
Okay, the short clips. So the first is the son of the leader of Hamas. He's now living in America, he's become a Christian, and he's abandoned all these principles, but he's talking about why he did this.
I was born at the heart of Hamas leadership, and I know them very well. They don't care for the Palestinian people. They don't regard the human life. And I saw their brutality firsthand back in 1996 when I spent about a year and a half in Megiddo prison. They killed so many Palestinian people at that time. And this is when I decided that I cannot be together with this movement. In fact, I asked myself a question: what if they become a ruling party at some point? What will they do? If they succeed in destroying Israel and building their state, what will they do? They will kill our people. And this was the first question, that actually I had to be honest with myself. Even though Hamas gave me advantages, I was like a prince in that world, but I did not like them, and I turned against even my own blood, because this is how much I did not like Hamas. And today, 25 years later, they are the rulers of Gaza, and we see what they are capable of doing.
So that gives you an insight that at least some of the people in the Palestinian Arab side are seeing that this, what is often promoted as being the gallant resistance, nothing of the sort, and are a huge burden and blight on their own people. Next, we've got a gentleman trying to join the Palestinian club at a university in New Zealand.
Can I be straight honest with you? I'm actually an Arab who live in Israel.
Yeah.
And I don't know what people are telling you or not telling you. I don't know if any of those people who are in that club even speaks Arabic, like me as an Arab. There are problems. I will never say that there isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But I have to be honest with you. This is a brainwash. Wallahi, it's a brainwash. I can vote, I can get elected. I become the president of Israel if I want right now to nominate myself. Whether I win or not, that's different. I don't have a different bus system. I don't have different judge system. In fact, an Arab judge in Israel, Supreme Court judge, sent to prison a Jewish prime minister and Jewish president. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to check the name, Salim Jubran. In an apartheid that cannot happen. I have freedom of movement. I came to New Zealand with my Israeli passport as an Arab. No one can stop me. And by the way, it doesn't mean that racism does not exist or discrimination. But you want to tell me that also in New Zealand, racism and discrimination does not exist? Unfortunately, it exists everywhere.
And this is very much the view that I've got talking to the Arab population within Israel. This is generally speaking the view they have. And this man's showing this woman who knew very little, despite being working for the Palestinian Club, that the flyers she had saying it's an apartheid state was simply not true. And this is just a smear to, again, delegitimize the state. Now, on the opposite side of that, right, there are many problems, and I want to get maybe an extra time to some of the problems in Israeli society and in Jewish society. So this next clip is a Jewish journalist who's been speaking out in favor of basically showing compassion and concern for the Palestinian civilians in Gaza, showing empathy for them and saying there should be a ceasefire. So this is someone taking essentially the UK column position from inside Orthodox Jewish parts of Israel. And, well, he'll describe what he's been facing.
הסרטון הזה אני שולח לכם מתוך דירת מסתור שבה אני נמצא מחשש לחיי, אחרי שמאות אנשי ימין צרו על הבית שלי וניסו לפגוע בי ובילדיי. הודעות של איומים קשים לא מפסיקות לזרום עד רגע זה. כן, אני מפחד, אבל אני לא נשבר. קוראים לי ישראל פריי, אני עיתונאי. העלו אותי על המוקד בגלל שנתתי מקום, אמפתיה ותפילה גם לילדי עזה שנטבחים בהמוניהם. ישראל נמצאת בימים קשים מאוד. המראות מהמתקפה בדרום הופכות את הבטן. האבדות קשות, ישראל בטראומה. אבל מהר מאוד הטראומה והרגשות האלה חצו את הקווים ומוציאות מאיתנו הישראלים את מה שנזרע פה לאורך שנים והתעצם בממשלת הכהניזם הקיצונית שעלתה לשלטון. גזענות, לאומנות ועליונות יהודית.
That's what he's facing, advocating for peace. There are many, many problems in all aspects of this, in all societies that are part of this problem. The core of it is the inability of people to live together in peace and love their neighbours, even if the neighbours are different. And I want to finish on this image of a wee Jewish lad and a wee Arab lad, just to make the point, it need not be this way. It's been this way since 1920, not 1948, but it need not be this way. And that's what we should be pushing for and working for.
Okay, we need to leave it there for today. And we will have more in extra in as quickly as we possibly can, because we're somewhat over time. But thank you very much for that, David and Mark, for today. And we will see you for extra in a couple of minutes. We have an interview going out at 1 p.m. Tomorrow. Do join us for that. But otherwise, if you're not joining us for extra, we'll see you at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Bye-bye.